What is going on? 17-year-old Jude Terry, you have the floor, sir. You have just won LAFC a game. And what a class from this guy. Guess what? The second show this week, I'm here with Eric. And we'll talk about that, the fact that we beat Chivas Guadalajara, not because of Sonny. We thought maybe a little bit of revenge there given the South Korea and Mexico game. But no, it was once again Denis Bouanga who gave us that goal that propelled us into the penalty kick. By the way, it doesn't stop, ladies and gentlemen. We have Toluca this weekend, our big foe from Concacaf Champions, and again, the big champions of Mexico as well. This tournament is extremely hard, and LAFC now has a chance to at least call it a revenge, right, Eric? So after our intro, we'll talk to you a little bit about all these things, and I'll ask Eric a little bit about Jude Terry. But first, Fugazi. All right, Eric. Not on a Monday. It's a Thursday. We're pre-recording this. But, again, I got to go to you. Jude Terry, the biggest story of this game. This guy just ice cold comes to take that penalty. I was like, Mark Dos Santos, what are you doing? And then he just nails it. Go, Eric. We talked about this kid. I am pumped. What's going on, my man?
Man, nothing like the day after. I'm not going to say it's like totally a victory, but we went through penalties. We got the points. Like, we're moving on. Jude Terry, I've been talking about him with you for over a year now. I was saying last year I wanted to see him start cracking the lineup more. He's starting to crack the lineup. The kid came in. He stepped up. He got it done. I think he's a huge prospect. I love his story. I love that his mom would drive him for 2.5 hours every day and back for training as a kid, all the way from Carlsbad, I believe, all the way up to train in LA. So that's some dedication. The kid is chasing a dream, and hopefully, he's catching the tiger by the tail right now.
Bro, what a win for LAFC. Yes, we get 2 out of 3 points. Chivas gets 1 point because they held the tie. I thought we had a chance to win this one. I called it a 2-0. You called it a 2-1. Both teams did score, but LAFC was not able to keep the shutout. Anyone else but Alvarado could not be alone how he was at that goal and ended up getting the equalizer minutes after Denis. Anybody else could have scored, but of course it was Denis Bouanga that gave us the lead on that goal. So let's go directly to the recap, Eric. Let's talk about that game. I felt LAFC was in control in the beginning. The first 10 minutes looked like we had it exactly where they wanted, and we end up getting the score first. Talk to me a little bit about that first half and the fact that we controlled them even though we did not have possession and found the goal in a counter strike, something that you and I talked exactly how it was going to happen.
Yeah. And we expected a lot of counterattacking with this game. There's a little echo in here, by the way. But we saw that they pretty much did what we thought they were going to do. I think the first 15 minutes were a little more frustrating on our side because they definitely really dominated possession. They didn't really do too much with it, which was kind of as expected. But after the first 15 minutes, LAFC really started getting the ball back and starting to do their thing and making some threats. And, Bouanga very easily could have made it a 1-0 earlier. He kind of missed that chip on the keeper. And we had a couple good counterattacks that kept coming out throughout the game. There's the one where Sonny made the two defenders crash into each other before putting it off to Martinez, who just couldn't quite get there quick enough to put it in. So a lot of counterattacking opportunities. the danger of the game kind of, I think, came as they more and more started, Chivas started breaking us down, and their possession started to become more and more dangerous. Regarding the goal that we gave up, very disappointing. I thought it was a very, very cheap goal to give up. And for how hard we worked to get that first goal, to give away one 4 minutes later, basically because you didn't mark one of the most dangerous runners that they had, was, was very amateur and big shoot yourself in the foot moment.
Yeah, it is what it is. Of course, we get 2 points out of 3, which, it may not be enough. Last year, it took 7 points for someone to get out of this, I would say, first round of League's Cup. And if you think about who do we have next, have to play big bad Toluca, right? It's not easy. And you have Querétaro, which, again, it's another Liga MX team. It's not like we're going against a low-level MLS team. We never know what's going to happen. And by the way, if there's an adverse result against Toluca, there's a chance that we just give up on this tournament, because we know that 4 points, 5 points even, may not be enough to get out of this, right? So now you're basically fielding your twos and getting ready for MLS on the weekend game, right? So there's a lot on the line, but this is a tournament that requires basically zero margin for error. And I felt, in talking to you earlier in the show, that having 2 of these teams to begin the campaign was not necessarily the easiest way for LAFC, right? Chivas Guadalajara has a massive following in Los Angeles. So I want to talk to you about that, because there was some drama about people wearing Chivas Guadalajara jerseys in the stadium. And I talked to you, and I tweeted this morning that, yes, I would not ever wear a São Paulo jersey in that stadium, just because of the respect that I have for LAFC. So talk to me a little bit about what you saw on TV. I know you weren't there, but so many fans, and it was a beautiful party for this game. So outside of the game itself, but let's talk about the stands and what you saw from the 2 crowds. And is there a place where you could be wearing a Palmeiras jersey, Eric, at BMO Stadium if they were to ever play themselves at that stadium?
That's a hard no for me. I know there's people who have their familial teams, the teams that they cheer for, their dad cheered for, their grandpa cheered for. Obviously, MLS isn't quite old enough unless somebody has a really forward-thinking hip grandpa that, loved one of the early 96 teams. Maybe you got that, but pretty much, it doesn't happen the same. One of the things with all the jerseys in the stands, and this is one of the things that I have really learned to appreciate with this tournament, and it's not a very standard soccer fan thing to say, but, to step it back, when my wife and I went to see the U.S. men's national team play El Tri at Allianz in Las Vegas about two years ago, we noticed 80% of the fans were Liga MX fans. Maybe 20% were U.S. fans. Mm-hmm. Talking to them, they all lived in the Vegas area. And for a lot of them, it was their first time ever seeing El Tri play. Mm-hmm. And so I think with this League's Cup, if we want to take ourselves out as MLS fans, I'm really, after 3 years, I think this tournament really is for the Liga MX fans that grow up, that have the team that they cheer for with their dad and their grandpa, but they live here and they just don't travel there much. So in a way, Liga MX is coming here and they're playing games that are meaningful games. They're not exhibitions or friendly games. And so people are able to go see the team that they grew up with, that they can't really travel to Guadalajara to go see because they live in Los Angeles, but they can go to BMO Stadium and see practically a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. So the thing that I really like about this tournament now that I appreciate is that people who live a long ways from where their family team is can see that team come here and play. That said, the League's Cup attendance, it's not really made for us MLS fans. I think more and more it's really made for the Liga MX fans that are here in the United States to give them something to go. I think this is the bread and butter of the tournament. So seeing 20% home team for MLS team is what it is, but these other fans, they never see their team, so they're going to take these tickets. And for us, we see so many games every year. That's how it is. So
yeah, bro, $200 to $400 the tickets were going for yesterday. Again, that's not what you see for a Major League Soccer game. So of course, the Chivas Guadalajara fans were putting a premium on those tickets, right? And you saw it on the stands. It was like 50-50, maybe 60-40 Chivas even, right? The South End was completely covered with Chivas fans, and some of them were wearing LAFC jerseys, like singing along. And of course, people went to Twitter and said, this is absurd. I cannot believe it. But I think the Chivas narrative of any of those teams, Chivas will probably be not because of USA, nothing like that. It's just because of how many people have grown with that team under, like, before LAFC even was in the scene, right? So I will tolerate because it's Chivas, right? But I think if you're a Cruz Azul fan, like some of us, you wouldn't like that, right? You're like, wait a minute, that doesn't look right. You're either an LAFC fan or you're not, right? And now you're going against one of the teams that I don't like. So I understand the concerns. I understand where you're coming from. And by the way, I'm the same way. If São Paulo comes to play at BMO Stadium, I'm just leaving my jerseys at home. I'm just watching the game. And I'm just happy to watch that my two favorite teams in the world are squaring off against one another. But I would in a somewhat weird situation, right? It's just weird.
No, for me, LAFC is my first love in soccer. So it's like there's no team that would ever supplant it. Palmeiras is my number 2. Now for my wife,
you're an NFL transplant, so you're there.
However,
I totally get it. Your wife,
Claudia, my wife, she grew up from a little kid with her dad taking her to Palmeiras games down in Sao Paulo. So if Palmeiras came here to play like a Club World Cup, which is their big bugaboo that they haven't won it when all the other major Brazilian teams have, I think she would have trouble putting on the LAFC jersey on that game. And, I can't blame her, just like, the LAFC fans who grew up loving Chivas. I'm not going to blame them for putting that on. I know when it comes to Toluca, they're going to have their black and gold on and they're going to be screaming. Now, if Chivas came here twice a year and this happened twice a year, that would be another thing. But this is the first time the LAFC has ever played Chivas Guadalajara. So people get a big pass, and I like to keep the love here in the game.
For the love of the game, I love it. I don't see much wrong with the Leagues Cup other than the current format. I don't love this whole, like, we don't play each other, but we could still be out. I would prefer to see groups or something of that nature. I know that we've tried this before, and I don't love that it's that powerful of a tournament that awards 3, not 2, not 1, but 3 berths for the Concacaf Champions League. I think that's too much given how random these rankings are. I just don't like that. Go ahead, Eric.
Yeah. But again, I think with the old format, and this was a huge problem with it, is that, I think we had a group where we had Vancouver in it again and like Nashville and one Mexican team. And we play Vancouver and Nashville all the time. So it's like the thing with this tournament is seeing us play teams that we don't ever play, like Kitaro, who we're going to play coming up, or Chivas, who we don't play. And like I said, I think they've realized that the money to be made on this tournament is from the Liga MX fans. And when you have 2 MLS teams playing each other, you don't get those people coming in and paying $200 a seat for an entire stadium. No. And so I don't think that will go back. I don't think it should go back on purely economic principles.
Well, bro, and you've got some nice haters online that have been kind of like horning you on this thing because you believe that this is something good for the sport, that MLS is doing it right by protecting it and promoting it, whereas like there's a segment of the population that feels like this is happening at the expense of the Open Cup. What I'll say to this is that the Open Cup has been mismanaged since I've lived in this country and I arrived here in 2008. Y'all had a chance to make this work. And to Eric's point, I do not want to watch LAFC OC. I do not want to watch LAFC El Farolito. I want to watch LAFC Club America. I want to watch LAFC Club León. I want to watch LAFC Chivas Guadalajara. So they're better games. So if we're just going to play for playing, that's one thing. But if it's worth hardware, I agree. We needed something that bonds these two leagues together, gives these people here that love these teams an opportunity to see them during a time where there's no other games going on, right? And you know what? It's better competition for us. We play better players. And I think anytime you have that, you're elevating the sport of your region. It doesn't help anybody to go beat the shit out of El Farolito 6-1 at the expense or at the hope that one of these games is going to be a crazy game, right? That is going to eliminate an MLS team. Guess what? The MLS team wasn't even feeling it. that day. So I hate it. I hate the argument with the Open Cup. You want to talk a bit about that?
Yeah, I do. And I don't want to be misunderstood because, I love the Open Cup and I've been here. And funny enough, El
But it's a
Farolito
different cup. It's a
they're
different
one of the teams I
It's a
love.
different idea. Go ahead.
Yes, but
It's not a replacement.
what your very first thing you said about it being horribly mismanaged, that is
Terrible.
my problem with the Open Cup. Let's look at the prize money. There's a $1 million total prize pool for the Open Cup, $650,000 for the winner. 600,000 for the winner, 250,000 for the runner-up. And then there's 3 different 50,000 prizes for the Division 4 champ, 3 champ, and 2 champ. And that's it. Like, MLS is being asked to basically pay out of pocket to go to these games in stadiums that is not promoted. When we play at BMO Stadium, they open up maybe a third of the stadium anywhere before the semifinals. So basically, our MLS teams are being forced to lose a very large amount of money on a tournament that's not dealt with. I've looked at the U.S. soccer financials, which are public record, and fiscal year 25, they actually buried their Open Cup costs into other categories, but you can see it in the fiscal year 2024 and 2023. U.S. soccer made about $3 million off of this tournament. Right. And every other team that participated in this tournament all lost money. So to me, basically, U.S. soccer is like a slumlord on this tournament. And so I understand the pushback. And this is a shame because the U.S. Open Cup is, I think, one of the great sports trophies in this country. It should be a very proud trophy to go for. But, to basically do it on the backs of these MLS teams and that they should have to pay out of pocket for everything. U.S. soccer keeps the money, doesn't really reinvest any of it into anything. Something has to change here. And if MLS teams just went along and went with it, how would it ever change? So I want to see this tournament change. The TST, the soccer tournament 7v7, has the same amount of prize money as the Open Cup. And that's a weekend tournament held at one place. It's pathetic. Maybe TST 7v7 could take over the marketing for the Open Cup and make it something great. But this tournament doesn't deserve to be like this. I think good from what I can tell.
Well, Leagues Cup is here, and whether you like it or not, we're going to look at the standings here next. But let's talk a little bit. Let's switch gears. I appreciate you giving me your thoughts on this because, again, we're lovers of the game. We're analyzing it. We're trying to make it better. But beating on MLS for trying to be bigger and trying to be better is not the solution, in my opinion. They've come up with the best ideas, the best tournaments. They can constantly optimizing it, changing it, realizing it's not good. Meanwhile, the Open Cup has been what it's been for as long as I've known and I've lived here. So that's the criticism for me, and that's why I don't believe it's even worth a comparison between the two. But I still believe that giving 3 berths is a little bit crazy, especially when you're awarding teams 2 points for a penalty kick win, which they won fair and square. It's modifying some of the, original laws of the game. And I think that's also something that gives people pause. So let's talk about the penalty kicks and Thomas Hasal, because he's starting to become a little bit of a specialist for us. Yesterday, I thought he was there for that very reason, because there was a high likelihood that we would go to penalty kicks. However, when he got injured, it was Carter Cabral who decided to, Cabral Carter, that they started to warm up and not Hugo Lloris, which made me wonder, why? Is there something wrong with him, or Hugo's that bad at PKs? They rather go with Carter. You know what I mean? So talk to me a little bit about the selection for Hasal, which concerned me in the beginning, and the fact that he's now becoming this really good penalty kick stopper for us.
Yeah. I mean, I guess we're growing our own John McCarthy back there in net. So we
talked about this last show too. Remember how we'd expect him at this point, if needed be, and if he needs to basically answer the call.
Right, because we talked about, he's sitting behind one of the greatest goalkeepers of our generation and of all time, Hugo Lloris, captain a World Cup champion team. So you really couldn't ask for a better example than that, and he looks like he's stepping up. He took care of it. And I agree. If there's one weakness that Hugo Lloris has, it's that he's not known to be the best penalty kick shot stopper. But the one thing we definitely missed is his distribution, because when Thomas Hasal would collect the ball and the guy started running, he doesn't have that boot to basically hit him in stride 60, 70 yards down.
Yes, yes, but sorry to stop you, but if you watch the goal, That goal came from distribution from Hasal that quickly hit their side of the field. It finds Tillman. Tillman finds David Martinez. So, yes, you're right. But I was actually very positively surprised by the way that he was trying to distribute the ball. I think that's coaching right there.
No, 100%. But Hugo Lloris would have had 5 passes like that in that game because he's
it's
Hugo
very
Lloris.
natural for him. Yes.
Yeah. So all I'm saying is like, what do you have right now? Hasal is developing. He's obviously has a ceiling much higher than where he is at right now. Hugo Lloris's ceiling is not going to get any higher than it is right now. And I'm just merely talking about kind of the trade-offs we had. Of
course.
Interesting enough, also in the shootout is we saw Sonny get pulled from the game. He also kind of had a pretty nasty looking ankle roll from a pretty bad tackle. I thought it was very disappointing how much Sonny got hacked that game and how little of it got called. I mean, he got
they came in the mission to beat him up. Yes,
8 or 9. Yeah, he took 8 or 9 fouls before anybody even got carded.
And he complained that Romo was like, Romo cannot stop beating me up.
Yeah, no, we saw him with the ref, which that should almost be a viral moment at that point. Somebody make the Sonny with the fingers meme. But he did come out, and one thing I will say about that is if you look at penalty kick conversion rates, the professional average is between 70 and 72% conversion rate on penalty kicks. A penalty kick specialist has a conversion rate between usually 80 to 85%. Now, Denis Bouanga, just to show how special he has an over 90% penalty kick conversion rate. Absolutely ridiculous. Son, on the other hand, his penalty conversion rate is 64.3%, which is far under the average for any other outfield player. So coming into this, looking at regardless of the ankle, I did think that mathematically pulling Sonny out to put in Tyler Boyd to take the penalty kick, it does give you more of an advantage. As much as people love Sonny and he's a goal scoring machine from the penalty spot, it's just
Tyler hits hard. Tyler hits hard. He's a good shooter. I actually maybe been pretty harsh on him in the past. Just after I found out how much he was making, I'm like, holy crap. But yeah, he does have a boot, and legs matter during penalty kicks. I do feel like it's tough for us to talk about Marky Delgado and his penalty kick because he gave his soul for us in 90 minutes. I thought he was one of the better midfielders that we had, if not the best. And yet, like, he skyrocketed his penalty kick. And I felt like he just didn't have the legs under him. And then they tried to go under it too much, and that thing took off. So please, Mark Dos Santos, never put him to score another penalty kick. That's twice that we've seen the former G put that ball in the stands. And, again, for a former G, we don't want him to be known as the guy that ruins all of our penalty kick battles. So I just don't want that on Mark's resume with LAFC. One cool.
You never know. I don't know how LAFC does it, but a lot of times they let the players on the field decide who's going to take the kicks. And a lot of time guys don't volunteer to step up. A lot of guys don't want to take the penalty kicks. So you always could have a case where really it's like you have, Bouanga, maybe Boyd, and maybe another guy like step up, and nobody else really wants to. So Delgado's, he could have just been all right. Nobody else, so I'll take it. I guess it's so.
I think he's 100% a guy that doesn't like to say no. I think that his wife is probably constantly asking him to do things, and he's never able to say no. He's just the nicest guy.
Yeah,
and his teammates 100%. Probably say the same. He's like, yeah, and then suddenly he has too much on his plate. I could tell that that's him.
I will say after that, when Porteous stepped up for the next kick, like I knew Porteous was going to bury it because I was like, this guy is like he's like a man's man right there, and he's going to have a cool head and put away.
I thought Chonier was good too. He was very cool, and I like guys that just take it real fast. I think that's the best way. If you sit there and you do the run and you go to the side, like you better be Neymar. You better someone that has a 95% accuracy rate, because if you miss that timing, your shot's going to be extreme. There's Brazil in the World Cup. I'm not over that game against Norway because that dude was like dude, like just shoot the fucking ball. Don't just like do this little thing, a paradinha, or how we say in Brazil. That thing just gives me the willies, bro.
Yeah,
But
so I thought Chicho Arango was pretty good at those goofy run-up
Chicharron
kicks.
was a good at the paradinha too. He didn't miss much. But where's Chicho these days? We don't even fucking know. He's
Now
disappeared.
he's back in
He
Colombia.
faded away, bro.
Whatever
Faded
weirdness
away
happened
because
here.
didn't have it up here. Didn't have it up here, unfortunately. But look at that stat. I think this is a very interesting stat because you and I talk. First off, statistically speaking, in football, 7 out of 10 times a team that scores first will go on to win a game. So we're not far off the average, right? But we're still way above it, right? And the fact is, we do not lose. That 0 symbolizes no losses, I believe, which means like if we score first, we are good. Our defense is good enough not to allow collapse, right? Anything you want to say about this? I think this is Marc Dos Santos' ball here, that we are a tough team to get scored in. And we also have a guy that is very good at scoring like Denis Bouanga, and that allows this kind of stat to happen.
Yes, we are very good at defending. 10 clean sheets from Loris also doesn't hurt that stat. The one thing I will poke on that number is those 2 draws are the last 2 games we've had, which was yesterday and Vancouver before that. Those are those 2.
Correct.
Before Vancouver is 14-0-0. So
that's crazy.
You gotta be careful of the trajectory here.
It's starting to go, and I agree with you. And speaking of trajectory, let's go to our next game. 26 minutes in our show. Again, thanks for being here. And if you do not subscribe to our show, as 75% of you do, please hit the subscribe button. It helps us tremendously. If you are a new listener or if you're a new viewer here on YouTube, subscribing to the show allows you to see when we release new episodes. And I know you're coming back. I can see the stats. You just need to hit that subscribe button. But before we get out of here, let's talk about this next game. It's already Saturday. It doesn't stop. What did stop was MLS once again, which is kind of weird, but whatever. And we got Toluca, the big bad Toluca, as I like to call them, because as you see them, they're the champs of Mexico, not once, but twice. And they were the ones that eliminated LAFC in the big bad Concacaf Champions, the one that we really want, right, Eric? I hate the fact that we lost that one, man. But we have a chance to show these fools the LAFC at home, we don't fuck around, right? And I hope that we can get 3 points out of here. So I'll go to you. What do you think of this game? LAFC will likely go full strength, given that we did show up for this game. So let's talk about the narrative of how this game will go. And can LAFC beat big bad Toluca?
I mean, the thing is with that semifinal that we lost is Toluca beat us pretty fair and square both games. It's not like we can point to a tragedy of officiating or anything like that, or just being unlucky. Better team, and they still look pretty strong. We see a lot of those old faces, guys like Viñas is out there still, Vega's out there. Gutierrez, Lopez, Gallardo. It's, guys that punished us, So it'll be interesting to see. I do think a lot of the resting and rotation that was done was with an eye on this Toluca game. We can survive and probably make it through if we get 2 points on this game and then we beat Quintero. That would be 7 points. 7 points got people through last time. So but a loss will pretty much mathematically eliminate us, and I would expect to see a big rotation after that. But in this game, I expect to see us come out full blazing, guns hard. I expect to see David Martinez starting, because one of the things Marc Dos Santos said about the last loss against them is one of the big mistakes he did was not starting David Martinez. So I want to see whether he remembers this lesson and starts David Martinez out there, because if he doesn't, it will make me very disappointed. Like, what change? You regretted that last time. Are you going to regret this again?
Yeah, I don't think David gets out of that. Like, because Schaffelberg had a horrible game in the final. That was a
and even if you look at yesterday, not to go back into yesterday, Martinez was kind of the most dangerous guy in attack. He was the only one really making things happen. And I pointed this out a couple days ago. He is kind of playing a 10 role on the right-hand side. But what he does, if he gets hemmed in, he moves back a little bit, and then he basically dribbles the ball straight across to the middle of the field and then puts an outlet, often to Denis Bouanga, as we would see. And so we've been seeing him kind of become a creative playmaker like this a lot. If he doesn't get the one-on-one chance on the end line, he'll take that. But if he doesn't get it, he'll come back up and push to the middle to basically start to overload the left-hand side and find somebody open, because they'll have to rotate out to stop him. So it's creating the spaces. I like this. But Schaffelberg doesn't do this. Schaffelberg is a crossing machine. And when you looked at the game last night, it's like, he's going to come in and start crossing it to Bouanga and Son? Like, it makes no sense. So I expect to see Martinez. Disappointed. He should have went 90 last game, unless the idea was just to save his legs for this game, which I can understand.
Yeah. So you can see the standings here, Eric. League's Cup, the top 4 from each side will come through. LAFC 7th after against the first round of games here, as you can see. And if Charlotte, Miami, Columbus, Cincinnati, Dallas, and Orlando carry 9 points, that's the end for LAFC. It's just nothing you can do about it, which is where I see the flaw with this tournament. And it could happen, right? Because there's no dependency on the right side on anyone but the left side. So it will never happen that there's no 6-point games, essentially, for us to catch up. So we're already behind. And that's the unfortunate part of this tournament. And it makes it basically a must win for LAFC against Toluca. And by the way, if you beat them, all you do is try to knock them out. It doesn't help at all, right? It just gives us 3 points, and now we have 6, and we hope that one of the teams on top will stumble against us. And again, I don't like that format, that you can go on to beat 2 of the major teams in, Liga MX and carry the third game and still be left out. So I hope that doesn't happen. We still have to beat Big Bad Toluca. So
I agree with you.
Myself a bit.
I agree with you. The mechanics of this tournament is very, very rough. I think part of that was to address, they didn't want to make this a whole month-long tournament. It was just, the first couple times it was just too many games. So I think that basically this tournament has a huge outsized advantage with how the draw comes out, right? Since we know only 4 teams are there, you basically have to win all of your games. Every team that did not get at least 2 points out of yesterday is going to be throwing in backups for the rest of the tournament and saving themselves for league. So the teams who are ahead of us, if their next game is against a team that's already out, they could see themselves putting in their starters against backups and a team that's basically just dialing it in, and because they're already out of the tournament. You're playing teams have a potential to have basically 2 dead rubbers after the first game ends. And so that's kind of the one thing, is the first game is and the order of the games is so huge. If we would have seen Toluca play Chivas for the first game, one of those teams is probably going to be out of the tournament after this game, which means we would play a weak Chivas or a weak Toluca as backups, but this is not going to happen. We're kind of
we get Querétaro.
Yeah. So
which now basically could be out already. So it could be a dead rubber game, which FIFA worked really hard during the World Cup to make sure that every single match matter. And I think when it's all said and done, about 30% of these games are going to be meaningless. And last year, LAFC just said, fuck it, we're not even going to play the second game. And we didn't, because we lost the penalty kicks in the first game. So it is a must win for LAFC. However, I do believe we go with a very defensive mindset, something of keeping the game kind of uninteresting, almost boring, in order for us to carry the 3 points and not allow this game to go to penalties. We do not want to come out of 2 games with 4 points. That means that you can only get to 7. And as Eric said, you probably need 8 to get out of this tournament's first phase. I don't think you can get out with 7 points. There are going to be a lot of teams with 7 points. So now you're starting to look at mathematics and who you beat, who you didn't, what your goal differential, yada, yada, yada. Too much mathematics for us to break it down here, Eric. So I want you to give me my starting lineup here for this game and your, of course, your score.
All right. We are going to go with
who's going at goal, right? I mean, we don't know who's going to be at goal.
No, I think Lloris is going to be in goal for this one, for sure.
Oh, wow.
I think they gave him some rest, but I think he's coming in for this one.
So you don't think he's injured, and the fact that he was there and even wasn't even warming up when Cabral Carter was called?
No, I think this is a planned rest for him.
Look, you're going to be the third goalie no matter what.
Look, they could have decided that, hey, and this happens with other tournaments across the world as well. They could say, hey, for for the League's Cup, Hasal, you're going to be the League's Cup goalie, so
Right.
you're playing.
Yeah, no, I think he starts. So I know you're saying that Loris is going to start against, Toluca, but I actually think Hassan is going to continue in there, just given that he did well, and I think the coaching staff's almost rewarding him with it. But go ahead.
Yeah, okay. I would rather see Loris because I
Me
really
too,
want to
by the
just get
way.
the 3
I was
points, and
concerned
I
with
think
Hassan there.
especially because we're probably going to be under a lot of pressure this game. And like I said, I want him for those long ball outlets because if we're going Martinez, Son, and Bouanga, just like that, those are going to be our chances.
Yeah.
So I want to see Lloris, but I think you're right. I think Hasal has a very good chance of starting. The back line, I would basically expect to see Shaberko, Long, who rested last game and will now be more fresh, and then Porteous because he's basically our number one center back now at this point, and I think Hollingshead will be on the right. In the midfield, I could see them going back to a Delgado, Segura, Chonier. Maybe they keep with Tillman, but I think they'll probably put Steady Eddie back in this one just to keep the extra defense. And then the front three, we're going to see, well, at least I hope we see a Bouanga, Son, and Martinez. We will see if Son's ankle took a little more punishment than we thought. We might end up with a Bouanga, Ibobisi, Martinez, but hopefully we see Sonny.
Love it. Yeah, I think the big question is that I don't know what we do with Eddie Segura based on what you said. Whether do you start him? Tim Tillman looked good. He had the pass to Martinez, so the hockey assist came from him, I believe. Well, it wasn't really an assist, but it's still a beautiful through pass that beat 3 guys. And I do believe that when Timmy is not there, we get too predictable and just invite the other team to too much offense. And Steady Eddie can just not give us enough of this offensive pace in order to keep at least things balanced. So I actually expect the team to be exact same as we saw yesterday, perhaps with Eddie coming in as the fullback. But I don't know if that would happen or not. Long certainly will be there. Chaburko looked good again, but is he like in need of a little bit of rest now? I don't know that. I do know that they were managing Eddie's minutes, right? So it would make sense for him to come back. Maybe, as you said, maybe it's Delgado that sits and Eddie does the 6, and then Chonier moves into the 8 because, as you said it, right, pretty much only have center backs and 8s in this team, and then Sonny and Bouanga.
Wings, center backs, 8s, and wings.
Well, yeah, and Sonny, because Sonny can play any position, and he's not necessarily a winger.
Sonny's a wing.
But yeah, he likes the wing a little bit, but we're making him play center. But I mean, that's basically there is, man. You either defend.
Well, look, yeah,
right?
we have 8, 6
you either defend
too.
Or you pass or you attack. There's only 3 kinds of players out there.
Yeah, no, I thought it just kind of hit me last night. I thought it was kind of a clever, snarky tweet, but I mean, honestly, yeah, we're center backs, 8s, and wings. That's pretty much it.
By the way, don't send those things to me in the most crucial time of the game where we're sweating tied. I was gonna die. You're like, look at my tweet, and I'm like, bro, I'm like sweating the fucking thing here. You're like, isn't that quirky? And it was, but I was too nervous at the time when you sent me. I'm like, I'm not reading the shit. I'm like, I didn't even understand it.
Something smart.
I didn't even understand it. And I'm like, I got nervous at the end of the game. I was like, oh my God, here we go. We're gonna concede.
Yeah.
We're gonna concede. It's gonna be awful. And we didn't, right? It was a nerve-wracking end. And why this is why I like the tournament. The urgency. People like urgency. People like urgency, especially in America. And it gives us something to chase and to understand and to have fun about, even though, like, again, the tournament may not be perfect, but it's here. It's here to stay. And honestly, I don't know what's going to happen next year with the calendar moving, right? Will they keep it? Will there be like a preseason tournament that gets played before we really get underway with our calendar? So more to come with that. Give me your prediction, Eric, and we'll get out of here.
Man, it's just so hard with this Toluca team. I have a feeling this is going to be a 1-1 that goes to penalty kicks.
Once again, huh?
And hopefully we get through it. I think we will beat Kitaro and get the 3 there. I think we're going to finish with 7 points. I mean, we'll talk about the Kitaro game also.
Querétaro. Come
on. That's a team we should dominate, and they're a team that's going to be probably playing their backups at that point. Yeah. So I think this is going to be a 1-1 draw. It's going to be a very tough game, but it will still be possible to go through. Although I got to see what the teams ahead of us have ahead of them.
You gotta win on penalties, right? Because otherwise you only get 1 point.
Oh
and now
yeah.
you get 6 points, and that's screw it.
No, yeah. If we have 3 points at the end of this game, we put in our backups and we look forward to the next league game.
Focus on MLS. Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah. All right. Last time you said 2-1. I said 2-0. Right now you're saying 1-1. I'm gonna say 1-0 LAFC. I'm gonna stay with LAFC on this. I think that if we're gonna beat this team, it's gonna be with defense and with a clean sheet. I do believe Thomas Hasal will start because he's the better penalty kick defender. And I believe that the coaching staff is ready for yet another tie, which then would bring another penalty kick game, right? Which then he would just be sort of the natural guy there. So 1-0, however, is what I'm calling this game, a goal by Sonny on the 81st minute. So it will be just a tight game and Sonny finding the score in the back of the net right before he's being subbed or being able to be subbed, I guess, by Mark. So that's my prediction here. 1-0, tight game, ugly game. We don't think we're going to win this game. We're already thinking penalties, and Sonny finds the back of the net.
I love ugly games. I love ugly wins.
That's the script I'm going with, buddy. That's the script I'm going with. And I do believe we need the 3 points. I don't want to leave this one to penalty kicks. First off, luck doesn't usually hit twice, man. You usually got lucky once. You wouldn't get lucky again. So we don't want to leave this luck thing or this thing to luck only. We want to get rid of it in the 90 minutes, Eric. All right. We're out of here unless I have something to say. Otherwise, again, thank you so much for seeing us. This is a pre-recorded episode today, but we're back live at 5 p.m. on Monday. And again, send us your predictions. The chat is open and you guys can always contribute whether we're here or not. We're, of course, not interacting with your comments, but you can tell us what you think of this game, who's going to score, what your score prediction is going to be. And again, we appreciate you very much for being here and listening to us babble.
Yeah, and I'll try to pop into the chat as well tonight, but I have dinner plans, so we had to pre-record this. So,
ooh, Eric's got dinner plans. I'm kidding. All right, Eric, you have fun, buddy. It's okay. It happens. We're flexible. Thanks again for being here, and we'll see you guys.